Thank you to Big Sky Economic Development for supporting The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Big Sky Economic Development is the community's economic development organization. BSED's mission is to sustain and grow our region's vibrant economy and outstanding quality of life by providing leadership and resources for business creation, expansion, retention, new business recruitment, workforce development, and community development. Learn more and connect with BSED at bigskyeconomicdevelopment.org.
I feel like I have the unicorn job because truly it's a little bit of everything that I love. I feel really, really blessed to do this work and to work alongside the people that I do.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
It's Mars B.
And Kavo.
And this is The Vault at 201 North Broadway.
A business podcast.
Where we bring you entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders of Montana.
You don't want to miss this.
Learn how to better start, manage, and grow your business.
And your leadership style.
Tangible takeaways to save you time and improve whatever it is that you're working on.
You're listening to The Vault.
Joining us today on The Vault is Nichole Mehling, the Executive Director of the Billings Clinic Foundation. Nichole, welcome to The Vault.
Thank you, Marcella. It's so great to be here. I love this room, and I just, I'm so happy to be visiting with you today.
Yeah, this is fun. I feel like it's like a fun full circle getting to talk to you in this format. When you were my mentor when I started out.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been so fun to watch you in your career and all of the changes and your role here at Big Sky Economic Development, and you've just done an amazing job. So it's I feel really proud to be here with you.
Well, thanks. I'm excited to have you because I'm like, ooh, Nichole is like one of my first like role models, mentors in the community. So it's just really great to have you here. And I wanted to talk to you today about, and Kayla's gone for those listening. She's at a conference, so it's just me today. But I wanted to talk to you about a lot of things in your career. So let's just start out. We like to start out each episode learning more about where our guest grew up, what their upbringing was like. What were those experiences that they had that really made them who they are today?
Oh my goodness. Yes, you're right. Every story begins at the beginning, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I'm a farm girl from Eastern Montana.
I love it.
As I know you are as well, Marcel. So yeah, I think that a lot of who I am today has a lot to do with my upbringing, my parents, the work ethic that I saw. It wasn't an 8 to 5 kind of day. It was you do the work until the work is done. And even then there's still work to be done.
There's always work to be done.
Right. And so I think that I really credit my parents and the values that they instilled in me with my personal work ethic. I had parents who were both self-employed. My mother has an insurance agency that she still works today. And of course, both of them have the farm and ranch that is still working in an operation. But above and beyond their roles professionally, they dedicated so much time to their community. So both of my parents were on school boards. Yeah. My mom has been very active in a museum board there in Hardin. My dad has served on several boards and, has been appointed to boards statewide. And so I really just saw from a very young age the importance of contributing to your community and being part of the process and the growth and the viability of a community. And so that's always been a guiding principle for me and the work that I do is, not only do you earn a living and play where you live, but you also contribute to the community in which you want to raise your family.
I really like that you touched on those things. I relate to that in a lot of capacities, more on my mom's side. My dad didn't really sit on boards, but my mom definitely was on the school board, hospital board, all of those things. My family just was in the community. And I think that growing up in smaller towns in Montana specifically, it's just everyone has to kind of pitch in if you want your community to be a vibrant place. So were you involved? I imagine you were. So you're seeing your parents do all these things, and what was high school and some of those, what were you into? What were those things that you really enjoyed doing in your younger years?
Yeah, so
in your young
in my
formative
younger years
is what I mean.
My formative years. So 4-H was a big thing in my life. I think I got to start 4-H and showing my rabbits, Molly and Howard.
Oh, cute. Yes. I didn't know you had, I love that so much. Yeah. Rabbits are so cute.
I actually have a funny story that's, for another time. But I ended up and showed sheep and cattle through 4-H, and then also did what it was then. So it used to be Future Homemakers of America. And then when I was part of it, they changed it to Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, was a big part of that. Sports were a part of my upbringing, but really I love music. And my grandmother, she and I would sing together in church. And I remember vividly, she just really gave me the confidence to be in front of people, to speak, to not be afraid of a microphone, right? And so she would actually, on Sunday mornings at church, if I wasn't singing loud enough, she would hit me on the side of my leg as she was standing beside me and make sure that I was singing loud enough. And so oftentimes when I, have the opportunity to speak in front of a crowd or just, in leadership at the clinic, I think about my grandmother, tapping me on the leg and don't be afraid to shine your light and share your voice, because that was really what was important to me. So
wow, I love that story. I had no idea, but I think that you are really great in front of a crowd. I remember watching when you were the president of the chamber board, or the chair, I'm not sure what they use, but and you're speaking at Metro Park in the big arena to like this huge audience of 900 plus people, and it's just like you made it look very easy, and like you weren't nervous at all. And it comes back to grandma being like louder. Yes, and I think if you can sing in front of people, I think speaking probably transitions. You're like, if I can sing, I can.
Yeah, it definitely translates. And I, we had a really, really wonderful music teacher, Mrs. Fox. She's since passed, but I think about her too and all the opportunities that she provided to us. We would travel to Greeley Jazz Festival and just a lot of performing. And so that always just really gave me the confidence, and actually traveled to Europe after graduation with a singing group and got to sing over there. So it was very fun, but I do credit that with, my level of comfort in front of a crowd and on a microphone. And I still love to sing.
What a skill set.
Karaoke every now and then.
Which I love and envy. I can't say I feel the same about singing, but that's really cool. So where did you go after graduating? You were really involved in your community from so many levels. I love that FCCLA was there for you too. I loved FCCLA, but where did it take you after?
Yeah. So after graduating Hardin High School, go Bulldogs, I actually did a semester at Grand Junction, which was then Mesa State College, and it's since really blown up and become a larger university now. But did a semester there, and then I transferred to University of Wyoming and finished there. And it was funny because my dream when I graduated was I wanted to be the next Katie Couric. Like really, I just wanted to be on the news. I wanted to be a journalist and share everything. And so started my college education in communications. And I wanted to continue my voice lessons. So I went to the head of the music department and I said, can I get some guidance on, who you would recommend for a voice teacher? And I was still, in the college choir and things like that. And he, in a matter of like probably an hour, convinced me that I needed to be a music education major.
Wow.
And so I completely switched my classes, everything. And what I found was when I lived music every day, every hour, I sort of lost the passion. So it became a chore to go to the piano lab after, eating dinner in college. And I lost my passion for the music. And I thought, okay, this is not the right place for me to be. So when I transferred to Wyoming, I actually let go of my dream of communications and finished my degree at Wyoming with a teaching degree. And so taught for a couple of years.
And what did you teach?
I taught fourth grade in Great Falls. So moved to Great Falls and taught fourth grade there. And it was a really interesting time to be in education. It was right when No Child Left Behind Act came to be. And so there was a lot of the standardized testing and just really kind of, I think they were trying to figure it out at that time. And I had no problem with being accountable for, my work and my growth that I had with students. But at that time, they weren't assessing the kids in the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. They were just assessing every couple of years. And so I thought, well, really, how do you rate me as a teacher if it's not like the beginning and end of the time that I have with these kids? And so I taught for 3 years and then I moved back to Billings.
That's so different. Just thinking of like you're great in communication and some of those things that we'll get to in a little bit. But what were some of those things that teaching really taught you doing that for 3 years? You're young, you're like right out of college. Yes. I would be intimidated by the kids, but they're fourth grade, so it's different than like high schoolers. But
yeah, God bless the high school teachers. Fourth grade was really fun because they're at that age where they still sort of like school, but they have a personality and you can joke around with them. But I learned so many lessons that are transferable to, any real job in teaching. And so I think really knowing this is what I have to accomplish in the course of a year, right? So this is the lesson plan and really trying to get from start to finish in the matter of 9 months. So as I think about that now, that transfers to my ability to strategize and say, okay, these are my objectives that I want to accomplish by the end of the year in this role, or whatever that time frame is. And so I think that education really gave me a good guideline for that, for making sure that things were done. The other thing is just, being able to communicate and being able to connect with people of all different values, learning styles, personalities. That was very, very important with kids having fun at work, right? Because you have to be fun to really connect with your students and make them want to come to school. On top of that, I think, dealing with parents. So I would, today contribute parents to, like the boards that I deal with and really helping them understand, like, this is what you need to know and this is what's important. And then, the operations of the classroom transfer to the operations of, what we do daily now in philanthropy. But I love my time in education. I think that it was a really valuable time, and today it helps me be a better parent, I think, for my kids as teachers, because I really trust them to do the job that they're hired to do and support them as necessary.
Yeah, I think I like the board and then just being able to have fun, but know that like everyone learns differently, and all of those kids end up growing up to be workers, right? And employees of people, and knowing that not everyone learns like you learn. And then knowing, parents and boards and all of that, just managing those different dynamics. So you mentioned you came back to Billings. Did you come back thinking you wanted to teach, or were you like, I've done that, I kind of want to figure out what else is out there?
Yeah, I definitely had applications in, I think, at the school district here, but at that time, it was a completely different picture than it is today, right? Yeah. They didn't have a lot of teacher openings. And so, I think I had applied at some banks, and I applied at the Hilton Garden Inn. And thankfully at that time, Peter Jeswally, he was my boss that hired me, but we were laughing about this the other day. I actually faxed in my application.
Oh, wow.
Marcel.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm dating myself. And so he remembers like seeing the fax come through, and, he has some ties to Hardin. And he said, when I saw this girl's name that, had an upbringing in Hardin, he thought, well, I got to talk to her. And so long story short, I had a good, my first professional, I guess, career in the business world through the Hilton Garden Inn. And so was hired as a sales manager, and then moved up to director of sales and left there as a general manager. But learned so many lessons just working that job. I really feel like I got an MBA without having to do the classroom time, because there was so much that went into, not only managing and operating a hotel, sales, marketing, but also just working within the confines of the Hilton brand and making sure that, your brand standards were what they were to be. And it was a great opportunity to really get to know people in the community, because there were so many people who had, conferences or meetings or events at the hotel. And so it was a great way to just build my network as well.
Yeah. So you were building network, you're growing, and kind of you're getting elevated throughout that company. What was it like working? So you go from education to then hospitality. And I think those like detailed things of customer care and just managing people, because as a teacher, you have kids, but then what was that transition like for you? And like, what were some of those things that you learned as you're now managing a team in a facility?
Yeah, it was actually very natural, right? Because I think as a teacher, you care for your students and you want them to have the best environment and the best experience. And I think too, when you become a leader of people, you want them to have a good environment, working environment, because you spend so much of your time away from home at work, right? And so work should be a happy place. And so really creating the culture that you desire for people and what you want to, be remembered by is important. But also, having those expectations that, this is what we require and this is what we consider a job well done at the end of the day. And so really, as you're making me think about this more, Marcel, I think that there's so many things that are parallel between education and just being a leader in general.
Mm-hmm. And I think just such unique and dynamic experiences like teaching and then working in hospitality. I think everyone has a little bit of hospitality in their what they do, whether they're business or like a traditional, they serve wine or they're a hotel or something. So I think there's a lot of those things that people learn. So how long were you at the hotel?
Oh, I think I was there about 7 years.
Oh, wow. So you did really learn.
Yes.
Like get some great experience, learned a lot, really got integrated into the community. And is that what maybe spurred the change?
Yeah, I remember. So I had a boss there at the hotel and she really encouraged me to be a part of things. So I did things like leadership billings through the chamber and, other things. But I remember she said, okay, you need to go to business after hours. And she said, I want you to bring back like 5 business cards. And I got super, super nervous. I'm like, I don't really know this whole networking thing, but I think I'm a nice enough person. Like, I guess I'll figure it out. And when you go to an event like that alone, it's intimidating, right? And you don't know a lot of faces. At this time I was new to the community and just, a young professional. And so I think I figured it out, and just got to know people and visit and kept going and kept showing up. And then as more opportunities arose, I just built a stronger and better network. And it was actually through one of my connections at NextGEN.
Which you helped start,
right?
If I'm not. Do you want to take us down that really quickly?
Yeah. So I remember John Brewer just really has a great vision for, how the chamber can be influential towards the business community. And I think one of the things he recognized that was missing was a place at the table for young professionals. And so after an annual meeting, he gathered a group of young professionals and said, what's missing? And so we all kind of shared that experience that this is how we're feeling and it's not such a great feeling and we want our place at the table. And so we started NextGEN. I think we had gone on a city aspirational visit to Sioux Falls and learned from them and their young professional network. And my friend Jeff Ewalt at the zoo and I said, okay, we'll step forward and lead this charge. And we really had a great group of people that were passionate about getting NextGEN launched. And now it's fun today because I have team members on my team who are part of it and they're leading and growing. And so it was just a really fun experience. And I'm so grateful that it's still flourishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and to be like a founding member is huge, and to step up and say, "Yep, we'll do it" is really great. We've had Jeff on too. We didn't get to talk to him about NextGEN, but we should have. He made us hold tarantulas that day. But
fun! I should have brought something cool, like a liver. Or something.
He's made me hold things I don't like. But I think that is such a great organization. And NextGEN just to really bring young professionals together and help you get started and connected into the community.
Yeah.
So you met, you're out, you're networking, you're at these things, you're growing in your role at Hilton Garden Inn. And then what kind of led you to think, what's next? Like what triggered that?
At that time, I had a young family and hospitality, the hotel never closes. And so you're always on call. And it was just time for me to transition and do something different. And I had a friend who had been working a liaison role and connecting with the community and around the state. And he was at the time at St. Vincent and he was planning on moving to Boise, SoCal and Dow. And he said, hey, Nichole, I really think that you should consider applying for this job. And I thought, oh gosh, well, that would be awesome. And it just so happens that we had a really tough wedding at the hotel right before my job interview. And that was sort of the nail in the coffin, if you will. And I went home and took a bath after a long weekend with a really rowdy hotel guests for their wedding. And I just said, okay, I got to go nail this interview because I'm ready to move on. And got the position. And so, that got me my foot into healthcare. And holy cow, you talk about, a complete learning curve. And, there's more acronyms in healthcare than probably any other industry. And I'd always kind of hold up my white flag and be like, okay, wait a minute. Like, what does this stand for? Because,
what does this mean?
Yeah,
what is it?
It's alphabet soup. Yeah.
So then you switched to like philanthropic work with St. V's, right?
Yeah.
In a role of, was it back to that sales type role, or what was the role?
Yeah. So my first role in healthcare was really as a liaison. So at that time there was a product that they were trying to launch to, create a self-insured network. And ultimately we decided that it wasn't the best business strategy. And so at that time, a previous client of mine, Dennis Sulcer, he was at the foundation down at St. V's, and he said, "Hey, I think you should consider this." And I thought, well, I can't raise money.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So then, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So, turns out that I can raise money, and I mean, I'm not bragging, but it really is.
It's an art.
It's fun because when you get to build relationships with people who are grateful for the care that they've received, there's this special bond that's formed, and it just becomes natural. And it's just an opportunity with guiding and pairing need with ability. And it's a really beautiful thing when you can help transform the healthcare for our region through patients and families and people who have the means to do so. It's pretty incredible.
So he recruited you.
He knew
me. You. Mm-hmm. He's like, come over
right
here. And how long were you at the St. V's Foundation?
I think it was like 6.5 or 7 years again.
So some like really great, I feel like I've been at Big Sky now like 6 years, and I feel like I'm like, cool, I got it. Like I get things differently than I did like when I first started, and things just click differently. Yeah,
there's definitely something to be said for longevity with an organization and understanding kind of the cycles, the stakeholders, everything like that. So no, it was a very good run at St. V's, and there's a wonderful team there. We still have lots of friends and people that I admire and care for that work at that organization. We're very lucky to have two wonderful healthcare organizations in our community.
Yeah. So you were there, and then now you are the executive director of the Billings Clinic Foundation.
Yes.
So talk us through the audience, like what was that transition like, and really diving into, I think, what is it really like working in a philanthropic organization in more detail.
Yeah. So it's incredible, truly. And I lost a lot of sleep over the decision. I thought, oh gosh, I'm going from one brand to the other. And it's not like there's a lot of brands, in our community. And so, but truly, I had a good friend in Jim Duncan. And in 2011, we had done the Leadership Montana program together. And that's where we really formed a relationship. And then, of course, just, all of his community activities as well as mine, we would run into each other and have opportunities to work together and on projects together. And so he asked me to consider coming down to the Billings Clinic, and it's been one of the best decisions of my life. And so what sometimes we, wrestle with and grapple with and aren't quite sure of, they can really turn out to be great decisions if you're just willing to take the leap of faith. So it's been an incredible ride since I've been there for 3.5 years now. We've completed some really wonderful campaigns. We just completed the largest campaign of Billings Clinic, $32 million for our level 1 trauma campaign. It's very exciting.
Which is huge. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Yeah. $32 million is a big number. And so we feel very, very proud of that. We just had a record-breaking classic event for our pediatric program. And truly, I feel really, really blessed to do this work and to work alongside the people that I do.
So what is it like what is that role like as the executive director in a foundation? Like, what is your day-to-day, knowing that no day is probably ever the same for you, but what are some of those things that you focus on? And then what are those things that your team focuses on so that you can raise that 32, which is like an insane amount of money.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's daunting, and it's not easy. And I think I know the thing that keeps me up at night is making sure that donors feel appreciated, communicated with, and in the know as to what's happening at the organization, right? I always want them to feel valued and have that relationship, and knowing that, we want them to feel like their investment in our organization has been worthy of it. And so I would say that, oh gosh, the work is so fun. So I'm just coming off the classic high. So we'll kind of start.
Yeah, let's start.
Yeah, we'll start there. So really, June, July, and August, we're doing a lot of event planning, organizing, sponsorship asks, all of those things. I hire the band, which is really cool. Fun. Yeah. And so it's just, honestly, I do say, Marcel, that I feel like I have the unicorn job because truly it's a little bit of everything that I love. Mm-hmm. And I love people. And so building those relationships and having the opportunity to visit with people who may be new to the organization as a patient or a longstanding donor. I think it's just really, really meaningful. And to understand, where does their affinity for Billings Clinic or for healthcare come from? Were they a patient? Are they a patient? Did they have somebody, saved at Billings Clinic? Did we make their last days comfortable, at the end of life? And so really just building those relationships is meaningful. But so we get through the classic, right? We have this really great August and it's fast and furious. August 1.
There's golf tournaments.
We have 6 golf tournaments.
How fun. That's a lot, but how fun.
No, it's really fun. And it's just so fun to see people because, when you're on the golf course and not at the office for a day of work, there's really not anybody in a bad mood.
Right. Oh, yeah, because you're seeing people, yes. You're getting to connect and just build those relationships.
Yeah, you're out in the sunshine. Yeah. So those are really fun days. And then we work our tails off to produce a party that's like no other for a fundraising event. There are so many great events here in Billings that different nonprofits put on. And the classic is just a really special party that we do to, kind of celebrate the end of summer and hopefully the completion of, our campaign that we're working on for that year. And that's just what it was. And so, on August 24th this year, we had right at 1,000 people in the community celebrate. And
it does feel like a celebration. I went to once in the past when they were downtown, but it wasn't like your traditional, like you're bidding on things. Like it really is just a fun party.
Yeah. We really try to do a lot of the fundraising work on the front end. And so when people come, we let them enjoy the night and, mix and mingle. And we really want them to continue to look forward to coming to the classic and reinvigorating the party and, okay, what's going to be next? What's going to be new?
Yeah.
Which is exciting and fun to be able to plan that for people. But the volunteers, the different organizations that support that and make it successful, it's just incredible. It's not a one-man show by any means. There are so many people that make it possible. And it's just incredible to me the first year that I did it. And it's like everybody's just kind of marching along and doing their own thing. And then it comes together to be this really gorgeous and successful event. And, it's gotten to the point because it's been 40. So the classic is we just did the 41st classic. So many people just know what to do,
it's like, yeah. And so can you talk a little bit? So it was downtown.
Yes.
And now you guys do a different fun venue. Yes. What spurred that change?
I think it was just the opportunity to do something different. You typically events are not that successful for that long. And so we just knew that it was time to switch things up a little bit, paired with the fact that Steve Henry just really, he has put so much money and time and love into his property at Henry's Garage. And we built a relationship with him as a foundation and started having those conversations. And we thought, let's try it. And it was a great move. Downtown proved to be a wonderful place for many, many years. And we had many great partners down there. But it was kind of the time as, there was some change in ownership and just some movement. COVID kind of changed things as well. And so we just thought, it's maybe time to try something new. So we went to Henry's Garage last year and it was amazing. There's just something about, having big trees and grass to put your feet on and, a different scene. We have more indoor space that really just keeps the party, contained and feeling close. And so, we're happy to be there.
And the photos are stunning that I saw. And I haven't gotten to go yet when it's at Henry's Garage. I look forward to going next year, but it's stunning. And it looks like it's in its own, like where it's located at. It's just like tucked away in this safe little big trees. It's really green where it's at, and a stunning location.
It really is. Before we had to turn the street that night after the party so that,
It's a lot.
the church could have their service the next morning and everything. And now we get like the week before the Classic and the week after the Classic to set up and tear down, which is very nice. I mean, we never really take that long, but it's just nice to be able to have that grace, and it's easier on your volunteers and staff. So,
instead of like pulling the all-nighter to like clean, which is like a whole separate thing for events.
People are not happy at 3 a.m. to be doing that. So getting back to, what does this work look like? So we're cleaning up things from the Classic, doing all the financials, and now's the time that we really, focus on our donor stewardship and those events. We do host a lot of events. We have an alumni group. We have employee givers. We have, boards that we're accountable to, and so many people. And so year end is also a very big time because a lot of people take advantage of the Montana tax credit. And so by giving to an endowment, you can actually make a big difference and, keep philanthropy going at a foundation by contributing to an endowment, and then also benefit from Montana tax credit. And so I'll start to, meet with donors who have traditionally given and say, is this something that you're interested in? Most people who have given to the Montana tax credit continue to, because it's such a great tool for that. But then also just prospecting new donors. And is this something you're interested? Are you familiar with it? And getting to know them. When that gift is made, there's a lot of paperwork that you do, and making sure that they get the right things to give to their CPA. And so on that end, that's sort of what brings us into the new year. And then from there, you strategize to, what does the next year look like, right? That's that lesson planning that
what's the next year?
Right? Yeah. So,
and how do we get there? And
exactly.
So when you're doing like the Classic, it's usually going to, peds or mental health, things like that. How do you decide that?
Sure. So it's definitely a conversation that involves many. It involves our leadership, our operations, and what is feasible. A lot of times there will be service lines who come to us and say, hey, what about this? Can you raise money for this? And while we'd love to do that, and it's a really great idea, it may not be sustainable. So, we never want to raise money for projects that, are going to, well, I shouldn't say that. So we want to raise money for projects that are going to both benefit the longevity and quality of healthcare, mostly to be sustainable. Now, there are those projects that we've raised money for that we just know it's as part of our Billings Clinic mission that they're never going to operate in the black, right? So our psych services would be an example of those. That's a commitment that we have to our community, but really, it's a joint effort of what's needed, what makes sense, and what has the viability to stick around for quite some time.
So, what is that relationship? We just haven't had we haven't had you on yet to talk about it. So, what's that relationship between the foundation and then the main hospital campus, and how do you guys all connect and work together, knowing that you're separate entities?
Yes. So separate nonprofits, but very much cohesive. And I would say that we're blessed to have leadership that really values and supports the work that we do at the foundation. So Dr. Seeger, our CEO, and his wife Nadine, they personally contribute to our causes and very generously so. But they're also willing to have conversations with our donors, and that says a lot for the belief that they have in the system. And so, Jim Duncan has been the president of the foundation, but he also does many other roles within the organization. So our chief communications officer and things like that. And so I really credit a lot of his role with building that solid foundation and the positive, strong relationship between the foundation and the hospital. So there's a lot of times that I'm in on, strategic meetings and things like that, just because that helps me understand where we're going, what are we going to need money for?
Oh, absolutely.
And what are those funds that we're going to need to utilize to be able to help with operations. And so it's actually a really strong relationship, paired with the fact that some of our foundation board members are also on the hospital operations board. And so, there's that transfer of knowledge and information as well, and really just support overall.
Wow. Yeah, I just was curious because the Catholic schools have that too, where there's the foundation, the school, you guys, foundation, the hospital. So just I think that it sounds like there's a strong connectivity and communication between all of you. And you're like right next to each other, right? Like,
we're
really close, which is helpful.
Right.
You're not like on the other end of town.
No, it's a really great partnership. And, at the end of the day, our foundation exists to support the mission of the hospital and to enhance healthcare. And so, quite frankly, they need us and we need them. And so we just know that we dig in together, and we want to support and make patient care as wonderful as we can through our donors.
So talking about Billings Clinic, can you talk a little bit, just for those that maybe aren't as familiar, your footprint? So we know that you guys are in Billings, your big campus is here. You are our largest employer, or one of them, if I'm not mistaken. But what's your footprint across our region with locations?
Yeah, definitely. So our footprint is quite large, and it's continuing to grow. So one of the things that we're finding is that critical access hospitals in rural towns like Hardin, right, they know that it's becoming harder and harder to operate independently. And so oftentimes they need a partner. And we have been lucky in that a lot of the critical access hospitals have reached out to us and sought out that partnership. And so we have a commitment from a system to really enhance and support rural healthcare, because that's who we are as a state, right? We really are rural. And so our footprint is very vast. We actually have, I think it's 20, I want to say 22 or 23 affiliates. It's constantly changing because we add on more. So we have 23 affiliates within Billings Clinic. On top of that, we recently, a year ago, merged with Logan Health out of Kalispell. And so if you look at their footprint, and on the western side of the state, up against the High Line, across the High Line rather, we really have a wonderful presence across the state. And so as a combined health system, we cover the state, and, that's allowed us to enhance and grow care in other communities where maybe, we didn't have outreach services available, or, if there was one specialty physician in one community and they wanted to take a vacation, we can get coverage from somebody at Logan Health. And so it's really just enhanced the amount and quality of care that we're able to provide for the state.
Which is so amazing. I mean, I come from like tiny eastern rural Montana, which anyone that listens probably knows because I talk about Ekalaka quite a bit, but it is those like rural communities where you do have an accident and it's probably involving like heavy equipment, machinery, and they get flown here, and to have both hospitals here to take care of them based on who, the flight, the helicopter, all of that gets it. I think it's just really remarkable. Do you want to talk about healthcare in Billings, and just as a region, what Billings really offers?
Sure.
Our surrounding states and our local Montanans? Yeah,
I would say that overall, we're very, very fortunate as a rural state to have the quality and level of healthcare that we do at both facilities. And truly, we do, as far as Billings Clinic is concerned, we're constantly rated in the top for our quality, and that's very important. We were the first level 1 trauma center, which there was none within a 500-mile radius of Billings prior to that, and so that's something that I'm really proud of and that we've done. Billings Clinic has, since its beginning, been pioneers in healthcare. So we did things like the first open heart surgery. And so we've really just always kind of taken that stance that, we're going to be the leaders and, advance medicine for our region, so that our rural patients don't have to travel to the Denvers, to the Salt Lakes, to the Seattles to get that care. Now, are there things that we don't have? Yes, still definitely, because our population just doesn't warrant them, or we can't, we can't get those docs, we can't recruit them. And so we have a commitment towards that. We've got a wonderful neurosciences program. I mean, really, there's everything that we do at Billings Clinic. We strive to serve and provide the best quality of care possible.
Can you talk a little bit about what level 1 trauma means? I think that, we see it, we hear it, but for those maybe not in the healthcare realm, what does that really mean for a community?
Right. So what it means, I think it's probably best told through a story. So there was a transfer of a patient from up north on the High Line. And at that time, the physician, the attending in the ED had just found out that we had become a level 1 trauma center. And so he transferred this patient down. It was very traumatic, would have had to go out of state otherwise before we became level 1 trauma. The patient arrived here, got great care, surgery, all of the things from the team, and was able to walk out of our hospital. And so, what that means is that the highest acuity trauma can come to Billings Clinic and doesn't have to be transferred out of state. So we don't have a burn unit yet. And I don't know that that's in the plans just because that is so highly specialized and not as common. But really what it means is that we can take care of the highest acuity. We also have, a lot of the requirements for the American College of Surgeons to get that designation is level 1. And so it means the numbers have to be there, the level of acuity, and all of the pieces have to align, as well as, education and research, outreach and training. And so it's a very rigorous designation to get and to keep.
Yeah.
And so, we just have to make sure that we're staying on top of that at all times. But it's pretty remarkable to know. And then paired with the fact that we have, the stroke center that we have, as well as we have ECMO program now. And we're the only ones in the state that have the ECMO program where you can actually transfer. So if somebody comes to a rural hospital, they can get stabilized, and our ECMO team can actually go get them on ECMO, transfer them to our facility, and keep them going. So it's pretty remarkable.
Right. It's like level 1. It's not just filling out a form to get the designation. It's a lot of work to get it and to keep it for your whole staff, your whole facility and campus, to keep that. And I think that it's interesting when you talk to people, and I'm sure you do too, from out of state, out of town, where you hear these stories of, I couldn't get into the doctor for months. I couldn't get in. And I think we're so fortunate that really if we need in on something, we're getting treatment, we're getting taken care of right here in our community, which is so, I think we should all be very grateful and thankful that we have the facilities we have to take care of us.
Yeah, no doubt. And we do still, there are access pain points, if you will, just because, they're those highly specialized services, they're harder, and, it doesn't really warrant having more providers in it because the population and the volume isn't quite there. And so that is one thing that I think is good to know here, is that, typically for most services, there's not a huge wait time to get in to see people. But, I think that there are those cases where, it might be a month, it might be a month and a half. And, when you do have something that's bothering you, that seems like a very long time. And I sympathize with that.
Yeah. And I think having us, so we've talked a little bit about it, but I want to go back to it, is coming back to your community involvement. You're very involved in the community. You're doing great work for the Billings Clinic Foundation, and you're a leader within the community. But I want to talk more about some of those things that you are involved in, that you have been involved in, and why and how you select those boards and organizations to get involved in.
Yeah, that's a great question, Marcel. For me, I think it's always, what's my core value, and my core value is just the vitality of a community, right? And so when I initially got asked to or applied for the chamber board, I don't even remember how it all happened. It was so long ago. But it was just one of those things that I really felt like the chamber provided a lot of resources for me in building a network. And so it seemed like the right place to serve on a board and give my time to, because it was meaningful to me, and I wanted to continue that for others. Paired with the fact that, we have the opportunity to make some big changes and impact on the economy and our community. And so I felt like that was a good avenue for that. With Big Sky EDA, that I'm a part of now, I love being a part of that board, because truly, you learn as much as you learn more than you can help with, right? But one of the things that I really love is being able to have that knowledge and connect people. And so it might not be something that I can contribute to right away. if I'm learning it and being a part of it, it might not be something that, I maybe could benefit personally from it. And I shouldn't say that, but, just benefit from, a foundation or a Billings Clinic side. But having that knowledge is so key, and being able to partner people up with, hey, I know this is going on. This sounds like something that, you're looking for. Let me make that introduction and introduce you. I think that's been one of the most meaningful things for me as part of being on a board and being able to make those connections for people.
Like a good connector. Yeah. And I think that you've been on some really great, the chamber's a board, our board's huge, but we have 2 boards and they meet together.
Right.
But I think just the people on that, it's really cool to have, selfishly, it's cool to have access to all of you and get to hear what you guys are doing and see you and getting more familiar with your organizations. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your leadership style. I see you as, and I've said it, but a community leader. And I think that when people, it's just, Billings is a big, small town, but I see you at things, you're getting involved, you're leading those things. So how would you describe your leadership style?
I think oh gosh,
that's a hard question, but I have to ask.
Think about it. I always just think, how would I like to be treated? And as you look back at, the experiences you've had in your career, what's been meaningful and what's felt good, right? Mm-hmm. We have those leaders, bosses maybe who have either made or not made our, time with them. And so it's gathering little bits and pieces from those people that you felt were the best parts of them, mm-hmm. and then trying to emulate all of those things. And so I would say, what I would like and hope that my teams would say about my leadership is just fair. And, I always want to encourage them to be their best selves and, do what falls in line with their passion, accountable. Mm-hmm. I think that you can hold people accountable without necessarily having to be stern, but just being fair and outlining your expectations from the beginning. And so everybody knows, where we're going, that we're all marching in the same direction, and that their piece of the continuum is valued and appreciated, mm-hmm. and fun, right? Like I said before, we spend so much time away from our homes, away from our family at work. And so it really has to be an environment that you can, take your guard down and have some fun and create meaningful work.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think it is funny to think, not funny, but just to think about workplace, and you do spend so much time at your office thinking and doing work. So you do want it to be, there's a level of seriousness, but there also has to be fun to enjoy it and to really feel like you can grow in your role.
Yeah, I would say I'm a cheerleader. I was actually having a conversation with one of the gals in the office today, and I'm definitely the cheerleader type. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably not for everybody.
Were you a cheerleader?
I did cheer for one sport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I tried it out. I know it's fun, I had that. But no, I'm definitely a cheerleader for people's work. But I also think that, you want to be known for doing what you say and mm-hmm. saying what you do. And so that's always been a guiding principle for me, is just, making sure that people know that they can rely on you, and that, your character is strong, and that they can pretty much guess how you're going to handle a situation. Mm-hmm. Right. We all have our things.
So much.
We all have our things, and, we're going to, misstep now and then. But I think just taking every opportunity as a learning and growing opportunity is important to me. And so that people feel like, if something does happen, I want them to come to me and just let's talk it out, rather than, mm-hmm. Not sharing or disclosing that.
Right. And I see that so much in you, and you've been such a role model to me in Billings. And, you were my mentor at first. When I first met Nichole, she was my mentor through NextGEN. And so I think I've just learned a lot from you during that experience, and then just being connected with you after that mentorship mentee kind of program closed that year. So it's, I think that I'm not speaking for your team, but I'm sure that they see it and they watch you do the work, and you're right alongside them doing that too, which is something I think that's so valuable for teams or employees to see their leader doing that stuff too, right alongside and helping them. So It's been so fun to have you on.
Yes, thank you.
We love to end each episode with a few rapid fire questions. So we'll just hear a quick message from a sponsor and then jump right into those.
Big thanks to the Small Business Development Center for sponsoring The Vault at 201 North Broadway. The SBDC is an incredible resource for small business owners, offering free one-on-one counseling, business plan support, market research, financial projections, and much more. Whether you're just starting out or looking to grow, they're here to help your business succeed. Reach out to us at bigsky.economicdevelopment.org.
Okay, so my first rapid fire question for you is, what are some of your non-negotiables in work and in life?
Oh, my non-negotiables. You can't wear wrinkled clothes.
Love that. Get a steamer or an iron, people.
No, I mean, honesty for sure, right? You've got to just, be honest and forthcoming in what you do. Gosh, in work and life, non-negotiables. I just think, having integrity is it's number one. I know it's probably so cliche and boring of an answer, but it's just really being true to yourself and being true to others, doing what you say and say what you do.
I love that. Those resonate very much with me. So what's some of the best advice? So question number 2, what's some of the best advice you've ever received?
Do more and better work than you're paid for. And the harder you work,
that one's good.
Yeah. The harder you work, the luckier you get. My dad told me that, and it's true.
Yeah. That's really wise. If your dad also got brought up on Paul Green's episode.
I heard that.
Yeah. You have a wise dad, Nichole. Our last question is, what's one of your favorite things about leading a team?
Seeing them be successful and just that feeling of accomplishment. I just have such a great team. And when they really realize that success and they feel that sense of accomplishment and are proud of what they've produced and the outcome, there's no better feeling than seeing your team be successful.
I really like that. So thank you again for being here with us. Where can people find you, get connected with you, the foundation, Billings Clinic?
Yeah, so definitely visit the foundation webpage, so billingsclinic.com, and you can just search the foundation, or you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm always up for meeting new people and grabbing a cup of coffee and learning how we could partner. There's lots of opportunities to be involved in the work at Billings Clinic. We have so many ways for people to volunteer, to contribute, to just come and learn. And so we really want to make sure that the mission and knowing how healthcare works and the services that we provide get communicated to our community. And so I would just encourage anybody, if you're interested in learning more, we have a lot of opportunities to either learn about the policy or to learn how funding works. I think that's a big thing that is this whole twisted web as far as, reimbursement and whatnot, but
tax credits,
all of
that.
Right. Yeah.
But you guys are there to help people through that.
Yes.
So if you have the money and you want to donate, you guys can help.
We have many tools and opportunities to help you invest your money in a meaningful way and make it work for you as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Nichole. This has been great.
Thank you, Marcel.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Make sure you are subscribed to The Vault at 201 North Broadway, wherever you podcast, including YouTube.
Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway and Instagram at TheVault_201.
Don't forget to visit us at thevault@201.com and subscribe to our newsletter.
We will see you next time.
Bye.